I think the shifter was one of the most interesting races, considering obviously lower numbers at the Winter Series, but a couple of drivers were kind of standouts. Emery, I'll give you the honors to introduce our guest here. I think it took a lot of digging to find this picture and a lot of stalking, I would say, Emery, but that's part of our job. That's part of our job, and we must say so ourselves.
Yeah.
Without further ado, welcome to the show here to our very own Justin White. Justin, welcome to the show, my man, and congrats on your maiden national victory, dude.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was it was crazy. I would never even expect it for that weekend.
Firstly, talk about this picture. Where was it taken? When was it?
That was a while ago. That was like 2013. I think NJMP. I think it was up in New Jersey. It was some Rotax race, and I just won. I think I think it was a regional championship that year or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there
I
you have
mean
it.
that
Bring back
that
bring back NJMP.
that's what I'm saying, man.
It's
Like,
a great track. It's a
As long
great.
as we can get rid of like the whole lightning alarm thing.
yeah,
Yeah, that was
yeah.
kind of where it all went downhill with stars, I guess.
Maybe change some legislation on the local side, but as far as the track goes, I mean, phenomenal racing facility. But no, I mean, Justin, you look back at where you've gone over the years, your third season racing shifter, you've kind of worked your way up to this point. I mean, how special was it to finally get that first shifter win, considering kind of where you started 2 years ago and kind of, I guess, you're racing against guys in Mateus and then AJ that have been doing this for a lot longer than you have on the shifter side and in general.
Yeah, I mean, it was so special to get the win, especially for my dad and Carlos and Nathan. Um, we've just been working at it, and slowly getting the pace up there, and then we get it on that weekend. But AJ and Morgado are great drivers. They're both two of the best in the probably in the states, definitely, but probably even in the whole world. So it was really nice to go up there and battle with them a little bit and have a pretty damn good pace with them.
Yeah, and I mean, you've had success on the single speed side. You've made it to, I believe, what is it, four Rotax World Finals?
Yep, yep. Four,
Um,
four Rotex
yeah,
finals, and yeah, it was nice.
yeah. What led to the decision to move to shifter in the first place?
Actually, I didn't really want to go to shifter actually, so we were running Loxahatchee, and everything was good. We had a pretty good weekend, I think. In single speed, we were up in the top 5 quite a bit for the Rock weekend, and then I got an opportunity from the Magic guys actually, and I took it up. I ran Florida with them, and then I just liked shifter after then, and then I just kept running.
What do you think led to like your ability to adapt to it so fast?
Well, I don't know. I mean, just as a driver, just in general, you learn how to adapt just to anything that you're driving. So
Hmm.
just, there's nothing in particular that I adapted faster. It's just you force yourself to adapt, especially when you're going against people that are so fast.
Before shifter, give us the Justin White story. How did we get to this point? A pro shifter winner.
For pro shifter,
No, just give me a story. Give me the rundown of what got you into racing and
oh
what up to this moment.
yeah, oh my. So my dad was actually he used to drive motorcycles, like 750cc motorcycles, knee drag, and everything like that. So he was always in the racing world, and he kind of stopped that when I was little, and when I was growing up, I was always into cars. Like I loved the Cars movie, Mario Kart, all that stuff. I'll be playing with my Matchbox cars on the floor, But it was never even a thought in our mind to get into racing at all. So my dad used to work for a company, and he used to go to like China and back and stuff like that. And he got sick with leukemia or something like that. And he told my mom when he was sick, he never felt more alive than when he was racing. So my mom booked him a day up at Pocono for like some rental kart stuff, and he liked it a lot. So he was like, maybe I'll get into this. So he went up to one of our local tracks called OVRP, and he was looking to get into it himself. But then one of the owners, Peter Han, had said, you know what, you're a little too old for this. And my eyes are big and bright, and I'm 7 years old, and he was like, it's a better bet for you to get him into it. So that's how it started. And I just ran Kid Kart there for a little bit, and then I got into some cadet stuff, Comer 80s, some Micromax. I won my first ticket to the Worlds in 2013 in Micromax to Louisiana. That was really fun. And then we ran some mini Swift and stuff like that. It's a lot of a lot of regional races, like F Series and some other stuff. We collected some Northeastern championships and stuff. Just kept getting better and better, and then I stopped doing mini, and then I got up into junior. Junior, I was doing okay. I started driving factory supported with a little bit of comp kart stuff. I got another ticket in 2018 to the finals, and we just kept doing a lot of Northeastern racing, a lot of regional stuff. And I didn't really get I don't really feel like I found a lot of my pace until I started getting the senior. And once we got in the senior, it was just, I don't know. I guess it was like a little bit of an age thing. Like I started understanding a little better about how everything works and how I can get the time, And we got another 2 Rotex Grand Final stuff there, and then we were just running a bunch of the national events with me and my dad and Kartworks and everything, and we would always be just right there, but not enough, And always had a lot of speed, and then we got into shifter and all that gig, and we kept finding a little bit of pace, a little more pace, and we know a lot of connections, and yeah, I'm just here.
Talk about that transition, right? Because I know you spent a lot of time doing kind of X30 and all that single speed stuff. Talk about the transition into the shifter side of things, and how long it took you to fully understand shifter and the front brakes and the different lines in shifter.
Well, it took quite a bit, I'll be honest. I mean, my first couple of weekends, I was not used to the front brakes at all. I would keep locking up the fronts, blowing by the apexes. And there's a lot of very unique things that you got to do in shifter to be very fast. So a lot of it is just seat time. Just got to keep putting the seat time in. And you just slowly getting better at the braking, the downshifts, under braking, keeping the RPMs up, and then not just that, but the physical side of things. I remember my first shifter race. I was like, I was so tired that whole race. Like by lap 5 or something, it was a Pro Tour race, or no, it was a USPKS. It was 25 laps, and by lap 5, I was already done. So it was crazy, but just over time, you just start getting used to it, and not just that, but like the setup and shifter is very different to single speed. You're looking for very specific things to get fast and faster and faster and get that time down,
Yeah, you also talked about the physicality of things. Whenever you started shifter, I must say, you were a lot, I would say, smaller than what you are now. You're a pretty muscular guy. When did you decide to kind of get into the gym and like, you know what, like I'm gonna build up my body? One, we talked before the show and you said because you liked it, but 2, like how much easier was it whenever you put that muscle on to I guess help you muscle a go-kart around a go-kart track?
I wouldn't say it really helped that much, I'll be honest, because honestly, it kind of gets me a little bit more tired after like halfway on to the race, because I got more muscle, I got more blood flowing, more fatigue,
Okay.
But I guess for the first couple laps, when you can really muscle it and get on top of the wheel and and really make it work, it really does help. But as the long game starts going, I start to lose a little bit just because of exhaustion. So it works.
I've always found it so interesting because I don't know who I was having this conversation with, but there's so many, like the top level karters are actually really skinny. Like
Yeah.
when you look, I can't believe, like, it has always amazed me. Like Alan Isambard is a pretty skinny dude, and there's nothing against Alan. Alan will probably admit it. He's a skinny dude, and he can wheel a shifter for hundreds of laps straight. Because at the end of the day, to me, and I think Justin can attest to this, there's such a thing as karting shape, right? Because it's less using your arms itself and more just being in shape and go to hold up your body. And so that's what impresses me with actually Danny Formal, because he's a bigger dude and he's able to muscle around a go-kart. I think he's a little bit of an exception, right? But most drivers that you look at and it's like, how are they surviving? And they're usually they're skinny, but because they lap day after day after day, they're in karting shape.
Yeah, 100%. Because there's a lot of guys that you see, especially in Europe. Like Matias Morgado. They have to be a certain weight to be eligible for KZ or KZ2, and that's a very much lower weight than it is here.
Yeah, isn't it 10 pounds less in Europe?
Yeah, something like that. I think even KZ's even lower.
Yeah, because KZ2 is what, 10 pounds heavier. Because I was talking to AJ about it, because we were discussing Bujdoso being a little bit overweight because he's been out of the kart for so long, and AJ was saying that even like in Europe he'd be slightly overweight, and
Yeah.
it's mind-boggling to me, and it makes sense why all the Europeans come over here and they're a little bit skinnier because they have to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, it have to be.
To run KZ you have to be 150 pounds in Europe. That is, I'm 150 pounds. I couldn't believe that when he told me that's absurd to me. But it impresses the hell out of me when I watch the guys muscle around a KZ, because to me it is the most physical go-kart. And you look and it's like, man, they shouldn't be able to do this. But it goes to show you, back to what you talked about, seat time. Seat time naturally gets you in better shape for a go-kart, right? Not to say that gym doesn't matter, because the gym is super important, but I think it's less about building muscle and more about just building the stamina.
Oh, 100%. It's all about building a stamina, not really the muscle. I do the muscle because I like to do that myself. It's kind of nice to see a little bit of progression over time.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. With the ego a little too. But yeah, like you need to be you need to have really good stamina, not just like running wise or cardio. It's a lot of like, because when you're thinking about it, like you're trying to go for a run or something and build your stamina up, and it's like, but you're just working out your legs most of the time. You kind of got to build a lot of your stamina like with your upper body. It's kind of different.
100%.
And then after the race weekend, this was off air when me and you were kind of going back and forth, and you were obviously fatigued from the entire race, 18 laps, and you were like, man, I'm tired. 18 laps. I think I'm gonna have to start to mix some cardio. And how like, especially Orlando, I think is one of the most physical tracks. But like, how is it in the seat whenever you're going, 80 miles an hour at a racetrack, taking corners, and your neck, I guess, feels like it's about to fall off?
No, the neck is no problem.
Yeah.
More than actually, I'll be honest, being in the seat is actually better than when you're right off the track. Because when you're right off the track, you don't have the wind in your face or anything like that. You're just sitting there in the hot, humid air in Florida, and your body heat is just so hot,
And the adrenaline comes down.
It's a
Yeah.
It's a Florida race thing more than anything too, because the humidity down there is insane.
Well, I think different than like Orlando, because I think the curbs, I think that's probably really physical on the body. But to me, like the track that's always killed me is Homestead. Like whenever we go to Homestead, to me that's the one track where I can imagine. I mean, maybe you can attest to this. The fast 90s. That's what to me gets the neck.
Yeah, I mean it does get the neck a little when you're on the fast 90s at Homestead. I feel like the hardest part of Homestead is when you're on the curbs and you have the whole cart over the curb and you're having to turn the wheel to enter the, like, let's just say, depending on which way you're doing it. Like, let's just say if you're doing it backwards, the last turn, you turn the whole cart when you're on top of the curb, and you don't even really know when it's gonna bite. So it's like you're on it, you turn, it waits, and then it bites, and it's always just like a little hard because you kind of muscle it a little bit more than you have to like a normal corner.
What's MCC like? I've heard that MCC is probably one of the most physical tracks in a shifter, especially.
It's very tight. That's the thing with MCC, is that for a shifter, it's quite tight, and there's really only one line on the track. So when you start trying to go into like a lot of passing and stuff like that, it's quite difficult, and like it's really hard because you got to really get it in really deep and really narrow. But driving the track in general, it's not that bad compared to Orlando. It's quite about the same, I would assume. I mean, yeah.
OVRP. That'll
Uh,
that'll that'll get you in shape.
Oh, OVRP will get you in shape. Yeah, it's like
I was gonna say, how is OVRP on a shifter?
oh, it's crazy, dude. It's crazy. You don't stop shifting. You don't stop shifting.
I think that can be attributed a lot to like how quickly you probably adapted to the go-kart, huh?
Maybe the thing is that when you go from a track like OVRP and then you go to like Newcastle,
Yeah.
it's so different that OVRP you can make a little mistake here and there and you won't lose a lot of time because it's like it's only a couple feet until the next corner, But if you make a little mistake coming off the corner, off the I-70 at Newcastle, you make a little bit of a mistake, you might be paying like a tenth to 2/10 by the end of the straightaway.
This is just telling me that we need to run a national race at OVRP in a shifter.
Dude. In general, Northeast karting in general. There's some good tracks there.
Yeah.
100%.
While we're on this topic, the last thing for me on this topic, especially, when was the first race in a shifter where you're like, you know what, like I got this. Like I'm not as fatigued as I used to be. I feel comfortable with the cart. Like when was that first race for you? Do you feel like?
I don't really know. I would say it was actually Pittsburgh the first year that I ran it for Stars in 2023. Pittsburgh, I felt quite good. There was a very high grip track, with all the Rhino seal that they have there, and I had a lot of pace. And I came out second that weekend at Stars, and I was like, man, I really know how to wheel this thing pretty good now. And even in the rain, I felt very like at home, and I got second in the rain there, which was quite nice.
Yeah.
What's a shifter like in the rain?
Oh, it's I think it's a lot better than the single speed. You got to be really careful on the upshifts and stuff like that because you don't want to spin the tires too much. So you got to be very light on the throttle, but the braking is so much nicer because the front brakes and having the rear brakes, the chassis actually feels very under control under braking. But just like single speed, if you get it a little wrong, you will blow an apex or off the track.
It's always looked so fun because I feel like because you touched on it, right? In the single speed, it's a little less predictable because you only have the rear brake, you have a lot of rotation, and oftentimes you have too much rotation for your own good. You're always trying to take away. You want to basically set up the cart to just push. And the shifter, you can actually modulate with your feet, I think, a lot more. And then having the ability to actually downshift and engine brake, I think, is an advantage in the rain. I've never been fortunate enough to actually get a shifter in the rain, but it's like poetry to watch it.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of there's so much technique you can put into it with the downshifting, with your braking and everything. But you got to be so careful because you touch the gas a little wrong and have the engine on the pipe a little bit while you're turning a little bit, your rear will come around instantly. So you got to be really, really, really careful.
So was that Pittsburgh race the first time you driven a shifter in the rain, or how much had you driven before then?
I think that was maybe my second time in the rain in a shifter. But that race was crazy because it's pouring and nobody had any nobody had any clear visors because we had to change all our stuff right on the grid. We only had 3 minutes or 4 or 5 minutes. So we all just ran back to the grid, got to the pits, got our tires, came up, put them on, got on the grid and went. And it was a complete downpour. I remember going to turn 1 and I'm looking, I'm not even looking in front of me. And there's somebody in front of me. I'm not even looking there. I'm looking over to my left, looking at the white line. And as soon as I the first entry curve, then I started my braking because you can't even see anything in front.
Yeah, that track is probably one of the most treacherous in the rain in North America. And that weekend in particular, because it started raining right at the start of the OKN race, no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you're sitting on the grid basically. You have basically one shifter race in the rain, or one shifter session in the rain, and you at that time this was still your first real season in shifter. How nerve-wracking was it to look up and realize I got to go drive this thing in a race against a lot of people? I think who was it? It was Colin Daly, Talon was there,
Bailiff was there.
Bailiff was there. There's a few amount of guys that certainly would have had more experience in the rain in a shifter. How nerve-wracking was it to kind of just sit there and realize I got to go do this, I got to go race this?
Well, it wasn't really nerve wracking. I mean, when you're in the moment like that, you're like, I gotta do what I gotta do, you
Yeah.
know. So, and I've driven enough times in single speed in the rain as well that I'm like, you never know what you're gonna do or what's gonna happen until you go out for that first lap, first corner, and you feel the track, you know. So you just go from there and you just keep taking baby steps to build the pace up, and then once you find it, then you just got to keep replicating it, you know.
We spoke about this on the grid actually, but I think Pittsburgh is for one of the more underrated like tracks that we just don't go to enough. But what is a shifter like in Pittsburgh with all like the Rhino liner in each corner?
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. Pittsburgh was actually I've actually ran one other shifter race. It was actually my first ever shifter race. It was like 2021 or something.
It was Stars 2021, no?
Yeah, it was, and it was my first ever shifter race. I got called in by J3 to do it, so I did it. And whew, that track with the Rhino liner, like you'll never have a problem with grip ever. The only problem you'll have is if you have too much. You know what I mean? And having all the horsepower, 50 some horsepower going through that track with so much grip, and it's such a fast flowing track. It's just so much fun.
You ever almost grip flip there?
No, I haven't, but I have seen some people that almost have.
Yeah, I know when we were there 23, there was quite a few drivers. Emery, you were one of them. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emery's done it at multiple tracks.
Rhino Rhino liner is not my friends at all.
Neither is it mine. I almost grip flipped a couple times at Pittsburgh CKNA
in a 206.
In a 206.
That's
yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
That's scary, man. It's scary.
Just imagine Danny was there.
Yeah.
Oh my god. No, I feel like I was early to the party on this because I almost grip flipped a Yamaha like 8 years ago. Like when they first brought the Rhino liner into Dowsman, we were in Yamaha Junior, full send into the corner, like Thursday practice. I'm like, I didn't know what happened. I thought like someone went up my inside and just flipped me. I come off, look at the video. I'm like, yeah, no one touched me. I just almost slipped. But
that's funny.
No,
Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. I remember looking at my video, and then I was like, you know what? Like, I don't think we're fully gonna fix this. So you just got to drive with it, and that's like the scariest part about it, because you're like, I'm either going on my lid, or I'm making it through the corner, losing about half a second.
I think I got the yips at MCC last year from the Rhino liner. Like, straight up forgot how to drive because of that.
Like that, and then
I almost prefer it though, because I'd always rather take grip out than have to keep trying to add grip.
This is spoken from a guy that's like 30 pounds lighter than me.
Okay, at least it wasn't a short joke. God bless.
I mean, we could do that too, but
this is another one. NTK in Dallas. My cousin actually almost flipped there. You remember that, Emery? You were announcing that.
I was on the call for it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the last race my cousin ever did, and he hasn't raced since.
If you ever want something to like terrorize me, make an entire track out of Rhino liner. I will never show up to that place ever.
Justin, I'm getting these vibes from you that you're just like a super chill guy, man. Like just like might flip, but whatever. I'm having a good time.
I've had quite a bit of flips in my time, so it is what it is.
What to you was kind of the gnarliest one that you had?
Oh, I think you already know. A Newcastle, I think, what is it, 23 or something?
Ooh, yeah.
That was a quite good one. That was more of a spectacle. It looked worse than it really was. That was what I'm gonna say it. But
was that the one with Annie?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't really get it. I'm like, I've flipped a lot in my career, and I don't even get it. I'm not doing anything wrong.
It just happens, man.
I'm just in the wrong place at the time.
Well, in karting, it often happens so fast.
Oh yeah,
you don't even realize.
It's not even for something that you did. It's something that happens in front of you. That some kind of collision, you try to like avoid it, and then something happens.
That
'Cause it's
was
like it's really hard to do, but at the same time, it's really easy to do. Because like you said, usually it happens because somebody spun and you thought you could avoid them, and your rear tire hits them, and before you realize it, you are on your lid.
I mean,
Or
my most recent one was just like that. It was like we're in practice. There's three of us going down a line on a straightaway, just chilling because we were just passing someone, and we were all just kind of bumper to bumper, just kind of like, okay, all of our laps are kind of screwed. We're just kind of all chilling, and then one guy breaks in front, like the guy in the lead, just breaks, like halfway in the straight, and the guy that I'm behind hits into him, and then I hit into him, and then I go up. Like it's like it happened so fast, and it was just so like random that like that's why it's so weird that it happens sometimes. Just I don't know.
It's so I saw this comment, but flipping is probably the craziest feeling ever. I remember when I landed or when I was up in the air, like everything froze and all I could see was the asphalt. And I was like, dude, this is not good. But the adrenaline rush from the whole thing is like crazy. Whenever I guess rolled onto the grass, like I was out of breath, like because I got the wind knocked out of me. So I was sitting there like like trying to catch my breath. But then when it was all over and I was on the like golf cart back into the pits, I had a smile on my face because I was like, dude, like that was pretty badass. Like it was honest. Like the adrenaline is just like it's unmatched. I don't think I've ever felt adrenaline like that ever. And it's just like I don't know. And then like a week later, you're like back in a go kart. The next session, you're like back in a go kart because of how I don't get it. Racers are crazy people, but I love it.
It is so like the adrenaline after you flip is like unworldly. Like you flip, and every time I flip, it's like just hold on as tightly as you can and just hope for the best. That's all it is. And you flip, you grind your head or whatever, and then when you get up, every time I look at my cart, I'm like, can I still drive this thing? And then if I can, I flip it back over, do whatever I can, I get back in it.
Yeah.
there were what? There was 3 gnarly ones actually this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, shout out go-karting for being safer and that everyone was able to actually still compete after those flips because it is not something to actually joke about. But because people more often than not like are able to like walk out, it is like you said, the adrenaline I think also helps a lot with that. Unfortunately for ZCD, he scraped up pretty badly his Indy 500 helmet. But yeah, I think Henry Lepard had one of the craziest ones that I've seen in a while with how fast it happened. And then I wasn't there, but you were there, Caleb, for Burnett's, right?
Yeah, that one was, man.
I think Jensen posted about it actually.
Yeah. It's just I really think the craziest one I've seen is Dutch Westbrook in micro. I don't know if it was last year at Trackhouse. He flipped, turns the cart over, gets back in it and drives. like crazy. Like I was just like what is like going on? And
he's Captain America.
Man.
Yeah. We kind of joke around with him and call him Captain America. He has a thing on his helmet, but that's these kids, dude.
Nico
great.
Bezo.
Yeah, dude, man.
That one was.
You were there for that one, Emery.
We were on the call together for.
Or
Bezo basically spacewalking through the sky.
Yeah, and these kids, man, they're still racing and racing kind of better than ever. Back on track here. Justin, Maranello, when did that deal come through? And how excited were you to kind of take up that new project?
So it started right before like 2023 Supernats. It started right before then, and I was super ecstatic because I always knew Carlos for a lot of my racing career because he's an up north boy in New Jersey. And I was still kind of new to the shifter game when they kind of brought me on, you know what I mean? So I was kind of more of like, I showed a lot of potential for the little bit of races that I did do that year. And, they're starting to help me out and I just keep progressing, and I was super excited, super grateful because Nathan and Carlos are great people. And I just love for how much I just love that they help me out.
Mhm. And in 2024, I think was one of the years where you guys were kind of up and down, good results here, and then have a weekend of maybe a DNF or something. How hard was 2024 for you guys, kind of as a team? And I know Vincenzo had a couple of struggles as well. And looking back to last weekend where both of you guys are on the podium, like how talking about the process, in 2024 to the start of 2025.
Well, yeah, the start of 2024, we had quite high hopes because I did really good in Super Nasty year prior, showed a lot of pace. And going into 2024, starting with the number 3 plate I had at Stars, we had a lot of high expectations. And then starting off the season of 2024 with the 5th place at Charlotte with a lot of pace that weekend was quite nice. But as the season kind of got on, we were kind of losing a little bit of our form, just a little here and there. And I wouldn't even say it was any bit of the package. It was just still a little bit of inexperience, not just in driving, but just in certain situations overall through the weekend. But we had a lot of good showings here and there, and then we had some struggling weekends, and all we're doing is we're just trying to make sure that we compound those good results, and try to learn from what we did right and wrong, and then just keep getting faster, And then now that we're coming up to 2025, we're trying some stuff here and there, axles, different front end setups, seats, this, that. We're getting it dialed in for not just the chassis, but just me and Vinny's driving styles,
Yeah.
And now that you have that, sorry, Emery, now that you have that kind of monkey off your back of getting that win, how do you approach the rest of the 2025 season?
I'll be honest, it started for the next day. I was like, I expect nothing less than me to be first.
There you go.
That's
Not even that. It's just I showed a lot of pace during the final as well on the first couple laps, pulling out purple laps, pulling a little bit of a gap, but around lap 9, 10, 11, then they started catching me quite hard, and then I kind of lost the pace more towards the end. All we're looking for is just maybe just a little bit, that tenth and a half per lap, and we get that, then we're going to be up there all the time.
What do you think? What do you think separates you guys from the likes of, I'd say mainly Burrell on like the long run pace?
Well, if you notice, Morgado doesn't look super. He's usually very slow to build up. If you've never noticed that, like at the beginning, he's kind of mellow, but at like mid to late, he really ramps up and gets real fast. I don't know if that's more of a tire pressure game or just maybe as the session goes on, just he starts to dial in his driving a little better, or maybe he's just the chassis doesn't feel like it leaves him as much from like halfway to the later end. But it's all it is. It's just trying to overall just get your pace there a little bit better, and by the time that you'll be later in that race at that moment, you'll be faster. I don't think.
Yeah. Sorry. I was gonna say, how much do you think you've learned from working with someone like Vincenzo as a teammate over the last year or two, given how much experience he has on the shifter side of things and kind of how long he and his dad have been going at it?
Vincenzo's an awesome guy. He is he's the nicest guy that you'll meet on track, or not on track, but like in the pits. He's a great person. But honestly, like Vincenzo is a driver that like he can pull something right out of his hat at any moment. Like the last 3 sessions he could be struggling, and then out of one session he'll just absolutely hit it perfect, and I'm like, how did you do that, dude? Like, but no, he's actually been very, very, very helpful, not just with me and a little bit of my driving here and there, because we bounce a lot of ideas off of each other, but also me and him have a very similar driving style that the chassis, as we make changes and stuff like that, it fits both of us.
I want to go back to this comment that we saw from Phil Pignataro a couple minutes ago, talking about, just you and your dad. I want to know, talk about the relationship between you two and how it's progressed throughout the years and how much he's been a factor in your success.
Oh, my dad has been every bit. He's more why I'm successful now than I am. Like he has done so much for me in racing, and not just racing but life, that me and him have such a great bond. We are so alike as people that at times when we're at the track, we butt heads here and there, but at the end of the day, we're both there for one goal, and that's to do the best that we possibly can. And I can't think of enough most of the times when we're at the racing weekends for what he does for me.
How was that moment this weekend?
Oh, it was awesome. It was funny because we hugged and everything, but it was like stressful right after the race, because then we're gonna have to worry about tech and stuff like that. And my dad's not like, he's all worried because he's like so it was funny because when he's getting like the engine off and stuff like that, he's like taking a little extra long because he's like messing up, like he can't get the chain off.
Yeah.
But definitely afterwards, it was like I said in our first interview, it was like a weight off off my chest. And I think it was kind of the same for him, because we've been working at it for so long, and we don't get the results that we want at times. And then these past couple weekends, we were on fire. We just got to make sure that we keep going.
It makes it all worth it, right?
Oh, 100%. It makes everything worth it. Like you don't even think about how many hours you put in beforehand, like once you get that win or once you have a really good result.
Well, Justin, we're kind of getting to the end of our segment here with you, but you got that first win. Fans, I think this weekend, Justin White, you probably gained a lot of fans this week. Why should fans root for you?
I don't know, dude. I'm like, I don't know. I mind my own business when I'm at the track. I'm not like I want to be friends with everybody. I'm just there doing my thing, So I don't know. I'm just a humble guy that just wants to do his best out there on track and possibly provide a pretty good show for you guys.
Just a chill guy, man. Just a chill guy. Well,
Real guy.
as we get to the end here, where can people find you on social media? What do you got coming up? What's your year looking like?
So we're gonna be going to Pro Tour, starting off with that. We're gonna do the Stars races and stuff like that. And I'm gonna be working with my dad in Kartworks, for a lot of the Northeastern stuff like NKC and other club races around OVRP. But you can find me at Justin White Racing on Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at.
There you have it. Hey, Justin White, national race winner, all around chill guy, great guy. Justin, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a great time, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you a lot more often.
Hopefully.
A lot more often in the future. Well, for those of you at home, there you guys have it from Justin White. Justin, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it.